Welcome to Tales from the Road. My next guest on the podcast is the legendary Michael Schenker. He formed the Michael Schenker Group back in 1979 and laid the foundation for one of hard rock's most glorious solo careers. And while nobody expected anything less from a former guitarist for the Scorpions and UFO, it's close to impossible mentioning everything Michael has built over the last 50 years or the countless people he's influenced or played with. This is truly the stuff that hard rocking myths are made of. Right in time for his 40th anniversary as a solo artist and his 50th birthday as a musician, he resurrected the Michael Schenker Group. Immortal is also the name of his new album, recorded by the strongest lineup in his long history. We spoke about the new album Immortal, Michael's early years, his songwriting process, the Scorpions, and a whole lot more. Straight off the bat, congratulations on 50 years as an artist. I was listening to the new album, absolutely loved the new album. It's an absolutely fantastic piece of work. The first thing that struck me when I listened to the album was, what a lineup and what a fabulous quality of musicians in this lineup you have. Was that a conscious effort?
Well, it actually started like in 2019 when I realized that my 50th anniversary was going to come up, and I wanted to celebrate with musicians, friends and friends from all over the world, and it was dragging on and on and on, and it became really difficult because from all over the world it's really hard to organize, and so at some point I realized that I missed the release date. It couldn't have been released in 2020 because that's when I put the first note on Lonesome Crow Scorpions album when I was 15, and for me that's when a celebration starts, and so I said to my agent, my agent said to me, but Michael, the album came out, the Lonesome Crow album, Scorpions, came out in 72. And so I said, so I have 2 years to get it all together. And so I had hope again, but this time I wanted to put a compact band together to make it more simple. To celebrate the 50th anniversary, so I had Bodo Schopf on board, fantastic drummer, and Ronnie Romero. I asked him if he would sing all the songs, and he agreed. And then Steve Mann, I purposely put all the guitars myself down because it's the 50th anniversary. Wanted to make it as much guitar as possible, and to have Steve Mann do some coloring. He's very good at that. And then Barry Sparks kept calling me. Kept emailing me, Michael, I want to be your bass player. I said, you got it, and so I had a band together. And so when I left the 70,000 tons of metal cruise in early 20, I ended up in a Miami hotel for 4 days. I started writing. And then I went to the UK, carried on, and then I saw on the TV screen that there was some problem, And when I found out, because I usually go by car via Eurochannel, France, Belgium, Holland, and then finally make it to Germany to Michael Foster's recording studio, my co-producer, but I couldn't go that way because everything was blocked and everybody was going crazy, and so I had to find a different route, and so I ended up on a boat from Harwich to the Hook of Holland, slept on the boat for 8 hours, 7 hours, and then made my way to the recording studio. Wow. But and every time I had to do this trip 4 times, and not just for recording the backing tracks or anything, but for all the other bits, like video and doing all of that stuff to complete a production of an album. And So every time I came back, I had to go on 14 days quarantine, with the exception of one time. And so it totaled together 42 days on quarantine, and not in one go, but it was pretty tough. And so but if I wouldn't have done that, the album would have never happened, you know. So it's my 50th anniversary, so I had to sacrifice, and so I did. And so anyway, I put down all the backing tracks and in the studio in Germany, and it was time for Ronnie Romero to sing. And we called him up, and he said, "I'm sorry, I can't. It's like, I think he lives in Bulgaria. I can't go on 14 days quarantine. I can't afford this. I have commitments, etc., etc." We said, like, "Don't worry. We call you back. We look for a solution." Amy, my partner, she's a bass player, and she has a very good taste. And she's a music consumer. I haven't listened to music for 50 years, so I don't even know what's out there.
I was going to ask you.
So I said to Amy, can you think of a singer who can help us out here, because Ronnie is locked up? And she said, "Oh, try Ralph Shippers." And I said, "Okay, I trust you." I said to Michael Voss, "What about Ralph Shippers?" He said, "Absolutely." And the next day they were recording, and then recorded another vocal track, you know. So that was two less for Ronnie. And then Brian Tichy, one of the best drummers in the world, he called up Michael Voss and said, "I heard about the 50th anniversary of Michael Schenker. I'm a fan. I offer 6 drum tracks." Fantastic. I said, "What?" And I was absolutely shocked. And then he called back Michael Voss again and said, "A buddy of mine, a keyboard player, Derek Sheranian, he's also a fan, and he wants to make a contribution to Michael Schenker's 50th anniversary." I said, "What are we going to do with it?" As far as I know, he is a top 10 keyboard player, and we already have Steve Mann doing the coloring on the keyboards. What are we going to do with Derek? And Michael Voss said, like, "Why don't you do a guitar keyboard jam?" I said, "A guitar keyboard jam? I've never done that before." And he said, like, "Well, maybe it's a good, you know, do it for the first time, especially for this album, have something fresh and something new, exciting for the fans." And I said to him, "You mean like John Lord and Richie Blackmore?" He said, yeah, something like that. And I said, like, "Well, actually, you know what? I actually get excited. Maybe that's a great idea." And so you know, when I heard the result in the end, I mean, when I heard Ralph Shippers' voice, I was blown away. I didn't know there was a voice like that. And you know, and Brian Tichy's drums and Derek's keyboard jam with the guitar, unbelievable.
Absolutely.
I was so shocked. You know, I went like, where's this all coming from out of the blue now? You know, I mean, I started, well, anyway, it just kind of, it just went on and on. And basically, it was time for Ronnie, you know, to call up Ronnie again, you know, to do the vocals, and he said, "Oh, sorry, I can't, I'm still, you know, I can't go on 14 days quarantine. I'm sorry, I'm locked up here in Bulgaria." And so I said to Michael, "What do you think? What can we do now?" He said, "Well, what do you think of Joe Lynn Turner?" I said, "Joe Lynn Turner, he's one of my favorite singers. I'm a fan of his. He's a fan of mine. Do you have a connection to him?" And he said, "Yes, absolutely." The next day they were recording and recorded another vocal song. I went like, "Man, this is going crazy. I mean, what is going on here?" And then so that was four songs less for Ronnie, and then one morning I came back from the hotel. I had put down one of the compositions was a power ballad. Never done a power ballad before like that, and I don't even know where that came from. It just showed up in my compositions, but it was just another something extra special that I never done before. So that was actually very good. And so Michael Voss said to me, Michael always writes a B plan for vocalists, like melodies and lyrics, just in case they get stuck and need some help.
Correct.
And so he said to me when I came back in the morning, Michael, this is what I did to your power ballad. And I said to Michael, this is so beautiful. Only you can sing this. You got this song. And then there was another song called The Queen of Thorns and Roses, which is an unusual song. And the way Michael was treating it with his vocals was absolutely perfect. I said, nobody, I want you to have these two songs. So that was 6 songs less for Ronnie Romero.
Amazing.
and eventually Ronnie was available. And then, of course, he did a fantastic job, with A Night of the Dead and The Sail, The Darkness, and Come On Over. And and then we have another bonus song, an 11th song that nobody has heard yet, which we're going to use for single or for a tour promotion, etc., etc. And so, and then there was In Search of the Peace of Mind, which became a very, very important song. So we got even Simon Phillips on board. I mean, he is such an incredible drummer, and what he did to In Search of the Peace of Mind was unbelievable. And so, that was my very, very first, In Search of the Peace of Mind was my very first ever written piece of music when I was 15 years old. And
I remember listening to that on the Lonesome Crow album.
Yeah, and I was 15 years old. It was my first composition. I did it all by myself in my mother's kitchen. There was nobody there. And Michael Voss was sending me the original credits for the Lonesome Crow album, and it says Michael Schenker, Rudolf Schenker lyrics.
Yeah.
I mean, we had zero knowledge of English. How could we have written any lyrics? Complete misinformation. and it should have said Michael Schenker music and then whoever did the lyrics, But then on top of that, that song had the title In Search of the Peace of Mind was also becoming the theme of my life, fulfillment, contentment, peace, and so on, looking for those things. And then there was a solo on there I played as a 15-year-old for my first recording to my very first musical composition that was so perfect. I would never change a note, like Stairway to Heaven or insert the theme of the Imaginary Western. Sometimes it happens. It just comes out of nowhere. I mean, you can hear on Lonesome Crow, Scorpions album, that I'm an amateur. I'm developing, and you can hear imperfection in my guitar playing. But that solo was so perfect. Even today, I mean, I would not change a note for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So if you put all the pieces together, it just became the obvious special song, for the 50th anniversary. And so I wanted to make it an epic. And so I put guitars on the end and a lot of drama and it actually like all sorts of emotions. I had the howler in it. I had the low bending strings and sweetness and, all sorts of emotions in there. And when I was listening back to it later, it sounded like an inner conversation, like we all have inner conversations within ourselves, making choices, shall I go this way, that way, shall I shell out, shall I go, whatever. Yeah. And so, when I listen to it, it sounds like two guitars playing a question and answer, it's like the inner conversation. So in the end, I kind of, it because he was so full of emotions, and you can really hear the question and answer, and so I realized it actually described my 50 years journey expressed on lead guitar. I mean, just unbelievable. And then, if that was not all, I asked Gary Barden if he could make a contribution, for the 50th anniversary, for the first verse in London, in a piece of Search of in Piece of the Search of Mind, and because he has such a lovely, warm, manly voice with vibrato and so really lots of feel. And he said, "Of course, Michael, I do that for you." And then I said to Michael Frost, "What about if we ask?" And then Ronnie, of course, he was singing the second verse, and when he goes up a level on a higher register, fantastic vocals. And then I said to Michael Frost, "What about asking Graham Bonnet and Robin McCauley and Dougie White to make a contribution, just going like, and I try, and so they all agreed, except Graham Bonnet had an operation on his shoulder. He wasn't available.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I tell you, in the end, when everything was completed, from 2019, when I wanted to do exactly that, I was blocked and gave up. Then I put together a compact band with Ronnie singing all the songs, and then all of that was redirected again by the virus.
Yeah.
Because of the virus, that it ended up like I could have never done anything like that myself. It feels like it was a gift from heaven, telling me, Michael, this is what we give you for your 50th anniversary, for staying true to yourself for all of these years. And it feels like a present, It's unbelievable. I'm so happy. It's great.
No, it really is, because as a longtime fan of your work, I mean, I followed you from the beginning. The first thing, like I said, that struck me when I read about the album, I saw the lineup, and then I listened to it, was, like I said, the absolute quality of musicians in the album. And the other thing is, a lot of these songs, I think, will sound absolutely fantastic live. I can't wait to watch you guys and listen to some of these songs live. Is that something you keep in mind when you write?
Is that what?
Is that something that you keep in mind when you write, as to how these songs will sound live? Because I think when you play these live, some of these songs like Come On Over and Queen of Thorns will sound absolutely stunning.
I never actually think of live. I should maybe, but for some reason I never do, because, I'm a kid in a sandbox. I just love to play recreational. I don't compete. I don't compare. I don't run for fame or for success. I mean, my whole life has been based on circumstances, living in the now and dealing with today. And so everything that I accomplished, is just basically based on circumstances, all the changes and everything. And then, of course, in my middle years, I wanted to, after I finished Strangers in the Night with UFO, and I wrote a hit when I was 21 in '76, Lights Out. It became a hit, and I got scared. I ran away from UFO because I thought the business wanted me now to, put me under pressure and write more like that. But I was not interested in that.
But do you regret that?
I mean,
Michael? Do you regret doing that?
Huh?
Do you regret doing that?
Doing what?
Do you regret running away, like you said, and not wanting the commercial
success?
No,
absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. No, because then then because I was already, I actually wanted to already start my artistic life, experimenting. But Pete Way, he persuaded me to come back into UFO. So we did Obsession, Strangers in the Night. Then Rudolph found out that I was available. Matthias couldn't do the Love Drive album. I was already a star in America, and the Scorpions had never been, to America, and they are actually 7 years older than me. So the first time I went to America was when I was 19. It's unbelievable. And when we did Lonesome Crow, actually, by the way, they were already businessmen. You have to compare a 15-year-old with a 21-year-old. It's a big difference. They are businessmen already. I was just a kid in a sandbox having fun, expressing recreational play and putting three notes together, creating goose pimples. So that's what I wanted. And when I helped the Scorpions, when they asked me, Michael, we need your help and for the Love Drive album. So I made a contract with them for that album. And they never put the pic, and I was a sixth member of the band for that album, and they never put the picture on the album cover. It's a breach of contract. But I never found out about that until 2015 when they approached me for the Scorpion for the 50th Scorpions box, and then I found out all the lies about the Love Drive story, how it came all about. And I was so disappointed in Rudolph. I always wished, and I was always happy for Rudolph that he had so much success, even without me, But of course, he used some tricks, distorting my image, using my image, and doing all of these stupid things. But they managed doing well. But they wanted to keep me, and they already had a plan to keep me in the band. And because I was a little boy, easy to to manipulate, and you're not really looking around business or what is wrong, what is right. I just was playing music, and they got really angry, when I refused and said, sorry, I have to carry on my own vision. I mean, I could have, if I stayed with UFO, it would have become one of the biggest bands in the world. And why going back with the Scorpions, doing the whole thing again? Because I already left UFO for a reason to carry on with my own vision. And so even when Ozzy Osbourne asked me to join, I was his first choice. Randy Rhoads was the #1 Michael Schenker fan. He must have always talked about me. And so when he crashed in the plane and Ozzy called me up in the middle of the night, I had to decline. I'm an Ozzy fan. I mean, I'm an Ozzy fan. I grew up with Zeppelin, Ozzy, with the Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. I'm a fan. I got an offer from Deep Purple in '93. I had to decline for the same reason, And Mojo had Phil Lynott, Ian Hunter. I mean, so many bands, But I had to create in my middle life. I had to become. Carry on experimenting and becoming fulfilled with all the things that I couldn't have done with Ozzy or Deep Purple or Scorpions or UFO or you name them. And so by the time I got to 2006, 7 or whatever, I realized I had done everything I wanted. I did acoustic instrumental albums. I did electric instrumental albums. I did cover versions with fantastic musicians. And so I actually got everything out of my system, and so now my brain was ticking, bringing me back to being 16, 18, 20 years old. And so, and I felt like, well, Michael, now it's time to go back to the roots. Go where you started. And I did like so much metal guitar. If you take Phil Mock's voice away from UFO, you can hear a lot of heavy guitar playing. But Phil Mock is not a metal singer, So it watered it down, but it created a really interesting chemistry between my guitar playing, his vocals, and the bass playing and of Pete Way and of
Yeah.
course Paul Raymond and Andy Parker, the drummer, and Ron Everson. So we had a fantastic chemistry. I mean, you cannot buy a book about how to get that kind of a chemistry,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and so basically, I was back. 16, 18, 20 years old, when I started my first album, comeback album with Gary Barden, In the Midst of Beauty. And then from then on, I just carried on and went like, I mean, I did so many different lineups and I just ended up, eventually with Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock
Mm-hmm.
and, which actually everything is Michael Schenker Group anyway, because everything starts with Michael Schenker. But all these titles are subtitles to categorize, to help me and help the fans. What is what? Michael Schenker, 50 years. I can't keep track of what's going on, And so, but hearing a subtitle like Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock, it indicates that this is what Herman Rarebell and Francis Buchholz from the Scorpions and Doogie White from the Rainbow, and then the Michael Schenker Fest is all the original 80s lead singers singing to Michael's original musical compositions. And so we have a way of going back in time, understanding by the subtitles which line is what happened when, etc., etc. And so, and then I ended up with the 50th anniversary. But he asked that question about life. Like if I write with life in mind, I never do. And and I know that some people do, and actually most people probably do, because they put the whole package together and what it will come across. I can understand the logic behind it. I never do that because I discovered the inner spring of infinite creativity. I never get a writing block. I always, if you look in nature, if you look at tropical fish, I mean, every fish has a different color.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like if you look in nature, even every dog or even pets, I mean, nature, there is so much in nature that hasn't been discovered yet. So the creator of all creations, it is endless. If you find the way to that place, rather than taking from a trend, if anything, I created a trend, because in the 80s, people were copying my guitar style. And, and they had never heard anything like that before. And the way I ended up with the flying V and the crooked position, It all has a reason. It all has a reason. It is not for posing. It is, when I was put in the position of having to play the flying V because my guitar was locked up, my other guitar was locked up, I discovered very quickly with the shape of the flying V, I was never really attracted to the look of it, but I felt that there was I was able to put it between my legs and create a heavy vibrato, and then that also started that crooked position that people said, like, Michael, you look like you're going to the toilet. and it became my icon, the flying V and that crooked position. People thought I invented that and made that up. I didn't. It all came by itself. Everything that I did in my life came by itself.
Yeah. No, that's amazing that you say that, because for me, the flying V is associated with Michael Schenker. From the day I started listening to music in the early 80s, and from the time I saw pictures, and for me, the flying V has always been associated with you. The other thing that you just said, I'm a photographer myself, and it's every artist's endeavor to kind of find their own voice and not be influenced by trends. So I have a lot of respect for what you're saying, which is absolutely fabulous. You know that you have not been influenced by any trends, that you have taken all these years and put in so much work to find yourself and find a voice. It's truly fantastic.
Yeah, and I tell you, if people can be patient enough,
Yeah.
they reap the rewards in the end, because it's an inner fulfillment, and that's what really people are looking for contentment, for happiness. It's really an illusion, to fish out there for fame and be in a spotlight and make money and stuff like that, using a trend that everybody's using and making it dead. Because if everybody takes from the same trend, nothing fresh comes
Absolutely.
in, unless I inject and go to the inner spring of infinite creativity. And people know that. People know that that's where I fish my creativity from. And so, people become patchmakers and they copy bits and pieces of what I do.
Yeah. But tell me, Michael, are you ever tempted to relook at some of the old songs and rewrite it, for example, like you did with In Search of Peace of Mind? Do you ever see yourself doing that? To inject fresh blood into some of your old songs?
Say again?
Do you ever see yourself rewriting some of your old songs just to inject new life into some of your old songs?
No. I am not really a fan of that. I never go backwards. I always go forward, because like I told you, I have a treasure inside myself, which is the infinite inner spring of creativity. I don't have to recycle things. I don't have to write books. I don't have to write books because I run out of ideas. I don't have to sell my stage clothes because I need money. It's just like I don't have to do those things. It's just the people who are addicted to fame and run out of money or out of ideas. I always say, like, before I write a book, let the music do the talking. Who cares about a book? A book is a science fiction anyway. People can lie. They can write anything in a book. Anybody can write a book, and nobody knows if there is any truth in it.
Yeah, you're right. But tell me, Michael, do you ever see yourself being on stage with the Scorpions for one song, or maybe even with UFO? Is that a possibility at all at some point?
No, never ever. And one of the reasons earlier, it was maybe a possibility. I always said, if I do it, that was before I found out about the Scorpions' Love Tribe story, and before 2015. Up to that point, I was open to it, but I said only with the original members. And but that is with UFO already not possible anymore anyway. And I owned the name UFO 50% when in '93. When Phil Mock begged me to refuel UFO, and that it became Walk on Water. And I said to him, okay, you have to give me 50% of the name, because I don't want you to destroy the group again, because he completely demolished UFO. And so, I helped him, and we did Walk on Water, a fantastic album. And then, we just kind of everything trickled down. The moment we had not original members in the band, everything went into a mess. So I knew I was always right about that. And on top of that, the most important thing is that the Love Tribe story is such a big lie, and it opened a can of worms to discover so many more lies. And I'm so disappointed in Rudolph with all of these tricks and what he did. I mean, it's unbelievable. I don't want to open another can of worms by teaming up with those guys again. I mean, I love Rudolph as a brother, but social distance is needed, so I don't get tricked into any further inconvenient situations, which he started right from the first song that I wrote, crediting himself. He wasn't even there. He didn't even write anything. I mean, that guy is crazy. And so it would hanging out with Rudolph would just create further inconvenient situations for me. I mean, Rudolf is a bully and a manipulator. I don't connect with bullies. Do you connect with bullies? It creates turbulence. Yeah. Nobody in its right mind connects with bullies. You run away from bullies. I mean, period, and that Rudolf is a manipulator and a bully, and he has manipulated the Scorpions his whole life. And so, there is, Phil Mock should be happy. I actually gave Phil Mock the 50% of the name UFO back after he called up and asked in 2002, Michael, I need this, I need the name back, I need to work, I need to earn money. And we said, you can have it back for free. I gave him back the name for free. So he should be very happy being the proud owner of UFO, and no need for anything. Scorpions should be happy with the success that they had enjoyed over so many years, and I'm happy having myself. So we are all complete.
Yeah. No, I asked you because I shot a concert of the Scorpions. In fact, I shot the Scorpions a couple of times 2 years ago in London and in Paris, and then I shot UFO in London as well. And I was always hoping that maybe you'd come out for one song, and I've always wanted to see you live. I've never seen you live, so I'm hoping I'd be able to see you live next year after.
That's the problem with UFO and Scorpions saying last tour ever, and everybody thinks, and then maybe they even make some little lies of, maybe Michael is showing up. So it gets people back, but for the wrong reason, because Michael is not showing up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Where's Michael? Yeah. But, what is your writing process now, Michael? How do you write? Do you write every day? Do you come up with riffs? What is your writing process?
No. When it's time for me to make an album, I sit down, go to my inner infinite spring of creativity and write. When I have got 10, 11 songs done, I'm done. Michael Voss, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Fantastic. It's amazing that you don't need to listen to music to feel inspired. I find that quite amazing, because I was reading somewhere that you said you stopped listening to music 50 years ago.
Quite the opposite. By staying away from music, not listening to music on the radio or on TV or wherever, or consume music is. I mean, of course, you can't run away from lobby music or Correct. Music on the TV, but to consume music, it would have made me less fresh than I am today, because you get worn out by consuming, and you hear too much of the same thing, and you get bored with it, and you get and so I was aware of that very, very early in life. Somehow, and by not listening to other people's guitar playing, it was the only protection and the wall that divides me from hearing other things, not to get distracted and create fresh colors. When you study or when you go into a room, you pray, or people mourn, or wherever there is focus needed, it needs to be a quiet room. That's important. And when you have a quiet room, you start writing. It's like meditation, That's when you get to the depths of all creation.
Fantastic. Are there still people that you'd like to work with, Michael, in the current generation, or maybe even earlier? Are there still people that you'd like to collaborate with, musicians?
Well, I don't, I live in the now, I don't even know if I'm alive tomorrow. Of course, I mean, I love Rod Stewart, he's a pop singer, but what he did was Jeff Beck, rock me, baby, rock me all night long. I mean, unbelievable, the guitar playing and the voice, and such an original voice. I just love Rod Stewart, but he's the same birthday as me too, But I don't think there will be hope for that. But that's since you asked me, that's one of the things. But I must say, today I can do anything. Yeah. I can do a one-off album with David Coverdale, What's Clear, Robert Plant, anybody out there, because I'm done with my experiments, Nice. But I will not copy their past guitar players. That's something I can't do. So if I show up with an unexpected singer, it will all be just a one-off. And maybe we play a couple of Michael Schenker songs in the set and a couple of whoever that singer would be in the set, and most of it probably from the new album. And so I can see something like that could happen in the future.
Okay. Michael, very quickly, I want to talk about your background and how you started out. Who were your influences when you started playing guitar?
Jimmy Page, Leslie West, Jeff Beck, Rory Gallagher, Johnny Winter. Yeah. You name them. All the 60s guitarists. I went guitar hunting when I was 14 to festivals to discover new guitarists. I was absolutely into it, And but when I was 15, I started to stop. I started to understand, Michael, you have to be Michael. Otherwise, you won't be happy.
Yeah. Are you formally
trained? No point in doing something somebody else is already doing.
Absolutely. No, that's amazing clarity of thought at 15 or 16. That's fantastic to have that clarity of thought.
Yeah, well, I like I said before, everything in my life happens by itself. So I'm sure I had a lot of help from the essence of the universe.
Yeah. But tell me, Michael, did you study music? Are you formally trained?
Absolutely no. I'm about self-expression, pure self-expression. You don't study. You just play and discover.
Yeah. Michael, lastly, before I leave you, last year we lost Pete Way, we lost Eddie Van Halen, Leslie West. What was the influence they had on you, especially, Eddie Van Halen and Pete?
Pete, a fantastic, lovely guy. Eddie Van Halen, a fantastic all-round guitarist. I'm so sad that they are gone. It's so annoying and makes me angry that one by one, Leslie West, that they all disappear. Yeah. And the older we get, the more it happens. I have to stop now. I think the next interview is coming in.
All right, Michael. Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you for your time, Michael.
Yep. So keep on working. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Michael. Bye.